Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for joining me today. As we progress into or finish up this Gosho, this letter to the brothers, in these last few paragraphs, Nichiren he closes this letter out with some kind of personal advice, encouragement, however you'd like to look at that. And I'd like to point or direct your attention toward the way he closes this out is one of the few moments throughout the entirety of the Gosho that he spends a little time talking about the unique relationship of husband and wife, but also expands that idea to the nature of relationships in general, and certainly the natures of men and women. But being as the two brothers and their wives are all four dealing with a very intimate challenge of the father or father-in-law, depending on if you're the husband or wife. The two brothers, of course, it's their father, the wives, father-in-law, who is vehemently opposed to their practice of the Lotus Sutra. And so in terms of their lives and their practice, of course, this is the platform for which Nichiren speaks from. He gives them some life advice. And of course, it's all about encouraging them to stay strong in their practice, right? So, let us get into it. Nichiren continues. Excuse me. Now you two brothers are like the hermit and the man of integrity. The story we closed part 3 with. I think it was part 3. Yeah. If either of you gives up halfway, you will both fall into or fail to achieve Buddhahood. See, again, this steadfast consistency, right? You are like the two wings of a bird, or the two eyes of a person, and your wives are your support. Women support others and thereby cause others to support them. These are the natures, the nurturing nature of the female, right? And because they're nurturing, they get nurtured back. But as Nichiren points out, they're the instigators of this. The husbands are not as designed that way, right? When a husband is happy, his wife will be fulfilled. If a husband is a thief, his wife will become one too. So he's not worried about the brothers becoming a thief, but he's shown how the women function. Now he's saying, or the wives, how the husbands also affect the relationship from their side of the coin, the male-female coin, right? This is not a matter of this life alone. A husband and wife are as close as a form and a shadow, flowers and fruit, or roots and leaves, in every existence of life. So this is a relationship everywhere in our world, right? Insects eat the trees they live in. There's this symbiotic relationship he's pointing out everywhere throughout life. And fish drink the water in which they swim. If grasses wither, orchids grieve. If pine trees flourish, cypresses rejoice. That may be a little bit harder to reach, especially for Westerners, but he's pointing out the processes of life, and there's no reason to doubt the examples he's giving, but this requires a lot more study in Buddhism. Still, it's very easy for us to understand, as he said earlier, the nature of man and woman, right? He goes on, even trees and plants are so closely related. The Hyoku is a bird with one body and two heads. Both of its mouths nourish the same body. So this is the union, right? Man and woman. Himoku are fish with one eye each, so the male and female remain together for life. That's an interesting storybook kind of thing. A husband and wife should be like them, unified, right? You two wives, now he's speaking directly to the wives, should have no regrets, even if your husbands do you harm, because of your resolve in this teaching. That points to something maybe more difficult to talk about. But women, you know what this is about, right? It's the history of women for thousands of years, that sometimes men are ill-tempered, and women can be too ill-tempered, and they can harm their husband, but that's certainly not the trend of history, is it? And we're dealing with samurai here, so certainly it wasn't uncommon for samurai to lose their temper and occasionally take it out on their wives. So this is an odd kind of encouragement, but it is the 13th century, so it's interesting that he would include it in this, right? Trying to say, don't begrudge for him for what he is, but remain steadfast in your resolve in the teaching, because that is far outweighs any earthly mundane issues. So interesting. If both of you unite in encouraging your husband's resolve, you will follow the path of the Dragon King's daughter and become a model for women attaining Buddhahood in the negative latter age. So that's a pretty strong encouragement for the women. Insofar as you can act this way, no matter what may happen, Nichiren will tell the two sages, the two heavenly kings, the 10 demon daughters, Shakyamuni, and the many treasures, to make you Buddhas in every future existence. So Nichiren's throwing his hat into the ring and saying, even if you're not confident in your own resolve, if you remain resolved, I will support you in your enlightenment. As that male-female dynamic. So, yeah, a lot of Buddhist organizations end up splitting the two because they understand women need a different kind of encouragement than men do. So I won't pretend to fully understand that. I'm sure if you're a woman, you get it. A passage in the 6 Paramitra Sutras says to become the master of your mind rather than let your mind master you. So, again, we've seen this quote before, right? In general, but in this case, specifically to the ladies, saying don't let your mind wander. If your mind is resolved to attain your Buddhahood, to become enlightened, to increase your Buddha wisdom, to walk the Bodhisattva way and the Buddha way, then you will be controlling your mind rather than all those little passions going through your mind, the monkey mind, right? Controlling the way you live your life. That is the road to suffering, right? That's where all the hells are, right? So, next paragraph, he continues, whatever trouble occurs, regard it as no more than a dream, and think only of the Lotus Sutra. Nichiren's teaching was especially difficult to believe at first. But now that my prophecies have been fulfilled, those who slander without reason have come to repent. Even if in the future other men and women become my believers, they will not replace you in my heart. Among those who believed at first, many later discarded their resolve, learning or fearing that society would reject them. Right, we talked about this before. Among these are some who oppose me more furiously than those who slandered from the beginning. In Shakyamuni Buddha's lifetime, the monk Shunakshatra believed the Buddha at first, then later not only backslid, but also slandered so viciously that even the Buddha could not save him from falling into the hell of incessant suffering. This letter was written particularly for Hyonosakan, that's one of the Munanega brothers. It should also be read to his wife and to Tayunosakan's wife. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. So he definitely is writing all of this encouragement, and this whole letter has been about his compassion, Nichiren's compassion for these two brothers and their wives, and his compassion for their father, the brothers' father. Because he understands the nature of that father's struggle. He starts out giving the brothers lots of advice on how to deal with their father, which is not just about their father, but about their own practice and how they need to be cautious. It's not about just helping your father, but be cautious of your own mind as you go through this, and your resolve and what you're doing for your own mental health. Eventually this will work itself out, but and then as he progresses, he talks more and more about their relationship not only with their father, but their larger relationship with Japan, because they are part of the government, officers of the government. And then finally, he brings into the fold of his encouragement and advice and insight into what their struggles are. Obviously with their wives. Their wives can be a great support for them, and they their wives. But their wives too have to be encouraged and resolve to the correct teachings, right? I think earlier we talked he mentioned briefly admonishing the wife in a particular situation, but Nichiren here doing his best to use the very teachings of Buddhism to guide this younger couple, these two younger couples, in this struggle of their lives, but with this large obstacle, familial obstacle, that can easily derail you if you're not vigilant, right? So as he said, no matter what the struggles, always keep the Lotus Sutra in your mind. So that is the letter to the brothers. The next one is a more of a treatise. It's kind of long, but it's got a lot of meat in it. So we will dive into letter to Honen, not Honen. What's this guy? Horen. That's a name that Nichiren gave him when he became a lay monk. What is his actual name? You have to remember, too, these letters are being written at a time when Japan is being overrun a lot by the Mongols, and not an easy time to... Oh, yeah. Soya Kyoshin, to whom this letter was addressed in Soya village. Yeah. When he became a lay monk, whereupon Nichiren Shonin bestowed upon him the Buddhist name Horen, which means law lotus. So, just from that little snippet, you know that the next one is going to be pretty doctrinal. It's not going. It'll be personal, as all Nichiren's communications are, but it'll be much more focused on references in the teachings and in his advice and direction and teaching to this lay monk who is now going to be responsible for propagating the teaching, right? So Nichiren wants his mind right. He wants to give him a good foundation for understanding Buddhism, because he will be questioned, right? So those to me are the most interesting letters, even more so than the doctrinal ones to head monks or to the government. But his letters to his disciples, his practicing, I don't want to say elevated, but do you know what I mean? They have a different station. Every believer, every lay believer, every practitioner of Buddhism takes on the Bodhisattva mantle, certainly. So we're all responsible for, even if just by example, being teachers, right? But certain of those practitioners rise up in their education and their capacity as practitioners to be able to influence more the people around them, to the point of becoming, head priests or priests, head monks or monks of a temple, of a group, of a sangha. They then become responsible for several people at once, to disseminate teachings, to advise others. That takes more knowledge, more depth of understanding, right? And so those communications I find most helpful for my practice. But, all of it has something for us, and your insights will come from, I don't know. We're all different, right? So anyway, enjoy that Go show. I look forward to the next one. And for now, take care of your health. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Stay strong in your practice. It all resolves in Myoho Renge Kyo. See you soon.